All right, so today we're going to dig into this really fascinating grassroots project from about a decade ago. It was an attempt to build a completely new kind of digital classroom. And the cool part? This wasn't happening in some Silicon Valley lab. Nope, this was in a local UK community. So let's explore this digital dream they called Cambolc.
So get this. This was the bold invitation right on their homepage. I mean, talk about ambition, right? They weren't playing small here. This wasn't just, about online courses. For them, it was about stepping into a whole new era of learning and working, one that was totally driven by tech and, most importantly, by community spirit.
And that really is the core question we're diving into here. What did the future of learning look like to this small community in Cambridge over a decade ago? We're going to unpack the vision, the methods, everything about this project called the Cambridge Online Learning Community, or Cambolc for short, and just see how they imagined the future of education. Okay, so let's start with the vision. Every great project kicks off with a really big idea, and Cambolc was absolutely no different. So what was the ultimate goal? What was driving this whole thing? And there it is. This one line pretty much says it all, doesn't it? Their mission was so democratic. They genuinely believed that the internet, paired with technology that anyone could get their hands on, could just smash down all the barriers and make lifelong learning a real thing for everyone, everywhere. Okay, so this is the crucial part to get. This was a people-driven community that uses technology, not the other way around. That's a huge distinction. It was founded back in 2013, and it was actually inspired by a similar project in a nearby town. The whole focus, the core of it, was about learners teaching and supporting each other.
All right, so now let's get into the philosophy behind it all, the thinking that shaped their entire approach. They had this really clear, really powerful idea about how the internet had just completely changed the game for education. So here's where Campbell drew a really important line in the sand. On one side, you've got push learning. That's the traditional classroom, right? The teacher stands at the front and just pushes information out to the students. But on the other side, you've got their model, pull learning. The idea here is that the internet has put everything at our fingertips. So the new essential skill isn't just receiving info, it's actively pulling what you need, when you need it, all driven by your own curiosity. And this quote, it just perfectly captures their whole vibe. See, it wasn't just about you going out and learning stuff on your own. The second, and you could argue the most important step, was to share what you found. That collaborative spirit, that was the engine that powered the entire community. Okay, so we've covered the why, the big idea behind it all. Now let's get into the how. How did they actually build this thing? What were the practical nuts and bolts of making this peer-to-peer learning environment a reality? It all started with this one foundational belief. They even had a name for it, peeragogy. And the idea is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It's that expertise isn't just for professional teachers. Nope, everyone has something valuable to share. It doesn't matter if it's knowledge about gardening or coding or, just navigating life. And here's the really clever part. They made it ridiculously easy for anyone to join in. How? They built their entire platform on free, everyday cloud tools. We're talking about stuff you and I use all the time. Google apps like Gmail, Drive, and Docs, and the Microsoft ecosystem too. Things that millions of people were already using. And that right there was the key. They intentionally got rid of pretty much every barrier to entry they could. If you had a free Google account, that was it. You were in. You could contribute, you could collaborate, you could learn. It was literally that simple. So we've got the big vision, we've got the simple tools, but what did the community actually do? What were they talking about? What kind of knowledge was being shared in there? Well, if you take a look at their themed months from back in 2016, you see this incredible range. In August, they were talking about both square foot gardening and the Internet of Things in the same breath. Then in December, it was a mix of food, well-being, and smart cities. This was clearly not some narrow, super specialized group. Their interests were as diverse as the people in the community. And this table here, it's almost like a map of their collective brain. They used hashtags to organize all their big ideas. They were connecting concepts like hashtag futurology and hashtag pedagogy with brand new topics at the time like hashtag AI and hashtag augmented_reality. You can really see them trying to build a structure for all their shared curiosity. And if you look at their blog categories, it just drives this point home even more.
Just look at this list. You've got agentic AI right next to meter square gardening. You've got cybersecurity, Raspberry Pi projects, chats about social media, well-being, and even music. It's just the perfect snapshot of this really vibrant, totally human-centered learning ecosystem.
So, after looking at all this, what's the big takeaway? What can we learn from this little digital time capsule? What was the ultimate point of this whole decade-long experiment in community learning? Well, their long-term vision was actually way bigger than just sharing information. The end goal was to build a sustainable social enterprise, something that was owned and managed by the local community for the local community. It was all about empowerment. It was about ownership. And it was about making that dream of universal peer-to-peer education a reality.
And that kind of leaves us with a final question to chew on, right? Today, we are surrounded by these super slick, AI-driven learning platforms and really polished online courses. But when you look back at Campbell's, well, kind of messy but passionate and deeply human projects, what can it still teach us today about the real fundamental value of just learning together?